two friends that I was with for lunch when they even came and found me. How did they find where I was?
I have no idea.
I mean, did they just search for my car? Like, I am just amazed. I was eating with two girlfriends. They're both psychiatrists. I was at lunch with Janine and Ritu. I don't know if you know them, friends of mine. And these officers walk in, and I just like, we just finished, I ate a lunch. Like, I had a whole delicious lunch. And they're like, are you Wendy? We need to speak with you. And I was like, oh my God, are the boys okay? Like, and they were like, the boys are fine. And then I thought, oh my God, like,
what's
going, like, who's finding me here? And they wouldn't tell me. And so he said, I need you to get in the car. And so he drove me, and I started like, I just was like, what's going on? They found me eating lunch. I don't know how that happened. I'm fascinated still. Like,
We have ways of finding it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So they called my husband's son.
So when cars approached the roadblock, they just on their own turned around and went back the way they had come?
Yes.
All right. And did one of those cars in particular stand out to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And what vehicle was that?
It was a later 2000s model Honda Odyssey van.
Why did that
Dark
vehicle stand out to you?
I had obtained information that the ex-wife drove a vehicle like that. I don't know if they were like formulating a new plan because suddenly they can't go the way they want to go. There's usually just seemed to be a hesitation. This one caught my attention a little bit more also because when it pulled up, I mean, it just automatically did a 3-point turn and headed on.
oh my God. And I tried to drive up Trescott, and I saw that it was blocked.
It was blocked at some point. I'm not sure what time it was
And I
blocked.
just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something. Because sometimes
Oh, you're saying as you drove down which one of the side roads?
when I'm going to a friend's party tonight, and it's a oh my God, what am I even talking about? I needed to buy, it's a stock the shelf engagement party, and so I went to buy bourbon.
Okay.
So I went to drive from my place up Trescott to get to ABC Liquor, and it was blocked, so I just turned around. I was on the phone at the time. I wasn't paying a lot of attention.
Right.
So I just turned around and drove up the other way. I just thought, oh, sometimes when I lived there were electrical things that would happen. I left my house around 12:15 because I thought I'll get the bourbon and then I'll get some gas for the car and get super glue for one of the boys' toys. And I was trying to do all I can before meeting my two friends at 1.
Drive down, Trescott's blocked, you turn around, you go back around on Benton, and then you look
There's
to
a tree.
Right.
Is the vehicle pictured in State's Exhibit 19 consistent with the vehicle that you saw approach the crime scene tape that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And the vehicle that approached the crime scene tape would have had to turn onto Trescott and come a considerable distance down Trescott to get to the crime scene tape where you were.
Yes, ma'am.
Pardon?
I thought it was like a tree that fell down or something.
Right. So,
I didn't even think, like, that's the house. I saw a few houses blocked off, and
There could have been any reason for what was going on and why the tape was up, right?
Yes. I would think that a reasonable person would think that it was something relatively serious going on with a number of vehicles there and all that kind of stuff, though.
I was driving up the street, and I saw, like, the tape, and I just thought, oh, maybe there's, like, an electrical outage or something. Like, I saw the street blocked.
So
I was driving into town. I was running errands. I was meeting some friends for lunch, and I drove up Trescott because it's the shortcut. And so I drive up Trescott, and I see the tape, and I was like, I guess there was like an electrical outage because sometimes we'd have trees that would fall or whatever. And so I turned around and didn't think anything of it.
Testimony, officer, is that it appeared that this van which had a clear view of her ex-husband's house, right?
Yes.
And your testimony is assuming to this jury that it was Wendy Anderson that was driving that car, right?
I'm sorry, say that last part again?
Your testimony, or what you're suggesting to these jurors, is that that may have been Wendy Adelson in that maroon color in this vehicle, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so your testimony was also that when the car came, the person didn't stop and ask you what's going on, right?
No.
The person didn't get out screaming, "Oh my God, that's my ex-husband's house," right?
No.
And you would agree with me that that may be considered a normal response to seeing law enforcement and crime scene and EMS and somebody that you had a relationship with, that's their house, right?
Quite possibly.
So the normal response would have at least been to inquire, correct?
I can't say what her normal response was because I don't know what her role exactly was.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. The car in question didn't stop, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Didn't stop to inquire to you as to what's going on, right?
No, sir.
Didn't get out of the car?
No, sir.
Didn't ask you any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. And pretty smoothly made a 3-point turn and drove away, right?
Correct.
It appears you were traveling on Centerville Road. Is that a normal way that you would ingress and egress from your Aqua Ridge residence?
That sounds right.
All right, and when you left your residence, you said you were going to lunch. Did you go directly to lunch?
No, I stopped and made a purchase for a party that I was supposed to attend first.
And what was that purchase?
It was my first time purchasing bourbon. It was for not a bridal shower. It was for a bachelor. No, it was for a wedding party, but it was the bride and groom together, and they had asked for people to buy certain alcohol to help them.
Like a stock the bar party.
A stock the bar party. I forgot what it's called.
But I'm referring to your visit to the crime scene.
I did not visit the crime scene.
Okay. You did not pull up to the crime scene tape on Truscott Drive?
No. I was driving on Centerville Road, and sometimes I would take the shortcut through Truscott.
Yes, ma'am.
But when I was driving on Centerville Road, I saw some sort of tape or obstruction, and so I didn't turn.
Okay. If you were just passing by Truscott Road on Centerville Road, would you have been able to observe the crime scene tape?
From Centerville Road?
Yes, sir.
No.
Why not?
There's a considerable distance between there, and it also kind of curves around.
Okay. Okay. There's a message that says, "This is so sweet." Who is that
Objection, Your Honor.
message to?
Objection.
Hold on, what's the objection?
Hearsay, Your Honor. Item is in evidence.
That's sustained.
All right. Can you say who the message before the Best Buy message? Who did you send that message to?
It looks like I sent that message to my brother.
Your brother Charlie?
Yes.
All right. And that message was deleted as well?
I always delete my messages. But yes, it looks like I deleted it at some point.
All right. And that message, what were you referring to in that message, if you know?
I have no idea.
All right. But it was sweet, whatever it was.
I mean, 8 years ago, I have no idea what was sweet.
On the way to run your errands, did you go by the crime scene?
No.
On the way to run your errands, did you encounter a roadblock on Truscott?
I did.
All right, so you did turn off of Centerville onto Truscott.
I did.
All right, and when you encountered a roadblock, what did you assume the problem was there?
I figured it was just an electrical storm or something. There was some tape, and it looked like the road was blocked off, and so I just turned around and went back and went up Benton.
And had there been an electrical storm that morning?
I didn't remember an electrical storm, but in the summertime there's always trees falling and rainstorms, so pretty normal.
All right, and you weren't concerned based on that experience that there could be something going on at your marital home?
Absolutely not.
And your ex-husband, Dan Markell, had your children at that time, right?
No, he did not.
Okay, so you had your children at that time?
No, my children were at preschool at that time.
Right, but who took them to preschool that day?
Danny would have taken them to preschool.
Okay. So it was his day. He was killed on his parenting day.
It was the day he would have brought them to preschool and I would have picked them up.
All right. Did they spend the night with him the night before?
He did.
And you hadn't seen your children yet that day when you encountered the roadblock?
On Friday, no.
Okay. And when you encountered, at the time that you encountered the roadblock or shortly thereafter, did you call the daycare?
No.
Did you call Dan Markell?
No.
Did you do anything to reach out to any of the players that we've talked about in this case?
No.
Did you communicate to anyone that there was a roadblock?
I didn't. I would have had no reason to do that.
Would the view that this driver of the van that approached the tape have had, would that driver have had a clear view of Mr. Markell's driveway?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
You may answer the question.
Should have been.
And would the person driving the van have been able to observe at the time that that person pulled up that there were emergency vehicles present in the driveway of Dan Markell?
It should be evident. There's plenty of emergency response vehicles and stuff on scene. We're only, like I said, approximately a few houses down.
What emergency vehicles were present at the scene at the time that vehicle pulled up?
There was probably approximately 4 or 5 patrol cars, the marked patrol cars. At least one of the crime scene vehicles, which is also marked with police on it, and then some of the investigators.
Okay. And your vehicle, was that a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you seated inside the vehicle or were you standing outside the vehicle?
I was seated inside.
Okay, and did this person in the van get out or attempt to interact with you at all or ask you anything?
No, ma'am.
I would have had no reason to do that.
Does it make sense that you might have left your residence at about 12:30?
Sure.
Okay. And did you go to the crime scene or very near the crime scene on your way from your residence to, I guess, to lunch or to wherever you were going next?
No, I did not.
So you never turned on Trescott Drive that day?
I went to turn on Trescott Drive, but I saw that it had been blocked off by some tape, and so I just kept driving on Centerville.
Okay.
And just so I understand, your car was blocking off traffic that would have gone down Trescott, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And just to help me out here, sir, what street would vehicles be traveling down that would run into, would they be traveling down Trescott or would it was another street?
No, on Trescott.
On Trescott.
Okay, and when you had to turn around at the tape, right, to go back out?
I think I tried to turn right, and it couldn't turn, so I would have made like the kind of turn, like a K-turn thing.
And so when vehicles would come, they would have to make a 3-point turn to turn around?
Yes, sir.
Because it's a somewhat narrow road, is that a fair assessment? Just one way for both locations?
Yeah, an average residential.
An average residential, going one lane for north and one lane for south or east or west, however it breaks down?
Yes, sir.
Was there a roadblock there with?
There was tape.
Yeah, and an officer was there?
I didn't see an officer, but I did see a car.
A law enforcement marked vehicle? Okay, did you have any contact with the officer?
No.
Okay. Would your vehicle have been readily visible to the person in the van?
Yes, I had the emergency lights activated also.
Did you do anything after that to try to find out what was going on down that roadway?
No, I just assumed it was weather or maybe a tree fell.
Had there been bad weather that day?
No, but it was summertime and there's electrical storms and trees fall, so that would have been pretty normal for summertime.
And could you describe how the vehicle, what happened once it pulled up?
Just came up and made a 3-point turn and turned around and left the area.
All right, and did it do so? I'm assuming other vehicles probably did the same thing during that time frame you were holding the perimeter, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Because there was no ingress or egress down Trescott past that point, correct?
No.
All right, and the vehicle, did this vehicle turn around in any different fashion from the other ones that you observed turning around?
There seemed to be a little less hesitation compared to other vehicles.
What do you mean by that?
Overruled.
Can you describe what you mean by that?
Average citizens would be pulling up and there's that kind of pause where I guess they're formulating a new plan, like, oh, I can't go the way I was planning on going. And then, you know, kind of sit there for a second and then they'll eventually turn around and go. The way I remember it, this van, I mean, just came right up, made the 3-point turn and left. I mean, nothing crazy. It wasn't squealing tires or anything crazy like that, though.
Okay.
Did you have a notepad with you in your vehicle?
I always had one with me.
Did you take notes of which vehicles came down Trescott and turned around?
Only the one that was of concern.
Okay, and you took a specific note with regards to this vehicle?
It's in the report, sir.
And what did you write?
Basically that I'd seen a vehicle matching that of the description known to be driven by the ex-wife.
So you knew, when were you told the description of the vehicle known to be let me rephrase that. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So you knew going in what Miss Adelson's car looked like?
At some point after arrival, I was made aware of what
her vehicle looked like?
Yes, sir.
And this is before you got in your car and you posted up and did your job to create a perimeter, correct?
It may have been right beforehand or while I was sitting there. That I can't recall. It's been a few years.
Once you saw the vehicle that you believe matched her vehicle, did you get on your radio and say, hey, somebody go ahead and pull Miss Adelson over?
No.
Was there a reason? Well, let me ask it this way. If you're told that the decedent's gone through a separation and you see a vehicle that matches the description of his ex-wife, Ms. Adelson, which you did, correct?
Yes.
Was there a reason why you guys didn't try to pull over, at least to kind of inform her as to what's going on, at least to see if that's the right car?
I wasn't aware of a reason to affect a traffic stop at that point, and I'm stuck on the perimeter. I can't leave that point.
you have the ability to get on your radio, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there's other law enforcement officers, I assume. You said there's 4 cars at the scene, right?
Yes.
Okay, there's a crime scene van there?
Yes.
There would be no lack of law enforcement to be able to assist you to pull this vehicle over and inform this woman that her ex-husband had been shot twice in the face, correct?
As far as what I knew at that point, we didn't have a reason to stop her. I was just told, be on the lookout for the vehicle. And I had notified the investigator that I'd seen a vehicle matching. And, that's all I can tell you about that part of it. They told us to keep an eye out, saw a vehicle that matched it, and I just let them know that I did see a vehicle that looked like it.
Well, I mean,
And I just want to clarify that when you observed the vehicle that you saw approach the crime scene tape, was it your responsibility for finding and interviewing Ms. Adelson, or was that the responsibility of some other officer?
Somebody else.
Okay, and you notified who you thought to be the correct person of what you had seen?
Yes.
And did you do that immediately?
It was right around that same time frame. I called him on the phone.
All right, no further questions.
All right.
Was it your responsibility for finding and interviewing Ms. Adelson, or was that the responsibility of some other officer?
Somebody else.
Wendy, when asked, were you involved in any way in the plot to kill your ex-husband? Is that why you went to the crime scene on the day of the homicide? You
said no. The lie detector determined that was a lie.
My 2 friends that I was with for lunch, when they came and found me, how did they find where I was?
I have no
That's
idea.
I mean, did they just search for my car? Like, I am just amazed. I was eating with 2 girlfriends. They're both psychiatrists. I was at lunch with Janine and Ritu. I don't know if you know them, friends of mine. And these officers walk in, and we just finished. I ate a lunch. Like, I had a whole delicious lunch, and they're like, are you Wendy? We need to speak with you. And I was like, oh my God, are the boys okay? Like, and they were like, the boys are fine. And then I thought, oh my God, like,
what's
going
fine?
like, who's finding me here? And they wouldn't tell me. And so he said, I need you to get in the car. And so he drove me, and I started like It wasn't. I just was like, what's going on? They found me eating lunch. I don't know how that happened. I'm fascinated still.
We have ways of finding.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you called they called my husband's cell.
Please introduce yourself and spell your name.
Craig Isom, C-R-A-I-G, last name I-S-O-M.
Where were you employed last?
Tallahassee Police Department.
And what were your duties there at the time that you retired?
I was a violent crimes investigator in the Criminal Investigations Division.
And was that your position back in July of 2014?
It was.
Were you assigned to investigate the murder of Dan Markell?
I was.
Were you the lead investigator for the Tallahassee Police Department on that case?
I was.
All right. Did you go to the crime scene?
I did.
When did you go to the crime scene?
I was probably around, I would say 11:30, 11:45 on July 18th.
Did you make an effort to talk to people that were close to Mr. Markell?
Yes.
And who was the first person you interviewed?
The first person I interviewed was his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson.
All right. And where did you locate Ms. Adelson?
She was at the Mosaic restaurant in the Killearn Common area.
About what time did you make contact with her at the restaurant?
I believe it was about 1:30, 2 o'clock on the same day.
1:30 or 2 p.m. on the day of the homicide?
Yes.
Okay, so a couple hours after.
Yes, after I was done at the crime scene, I went to her location.
And as a result of your interview with Ms. Adelson, did you take an interest in her parents and her brother?
Yes.
All right. And did you, as a result of your interview, review any court filings?
I did.
What court filings did you review?
I reviewed the filings from the Adelson Markell divorce.
I'm going to object. The detective is using documentation. It appears that he's got his entire file in front of him. I can't see because he would get it.
Overruled before cross-examination, you'll be able to see whatever he has. You can proceed, Ms. Captain.
What did you review? Reference court filings?
I reviewed the filings from the clerk of court for Leon County concerning their divorce.
Whose divorce?
Wendy Adelson and Dan Markell.
All right, I'm going to approach and show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit 75. You had an opportunity to review this exhibit?
Over time, yes.
All right, and is this a fair and accurate copy of the divorce file of Wendy Adelson and Dan Markell?
Yes.
How many pages is it?
It's numerous. I'd have to count. It's a full binder.
They're numbered.
Okay, well, we'll go to 575.
Okay, and were there any, well, Judge, at this time I'd ask to move into evidence State 75, a certified copy of the divorce file of Dan and Wendy.
I think the case got dumbed down to she's showing up at the scene of the crime. You're telling me she didn't know. If she knew, then they're involved. If she wasn't showing up, okay, I could believe it maybe, but her showing up is the icing on the cake. And that's why they opened with it, and that's why they closed with it, and they even gave their simple explanation, which is she couldn't help herself. And look, 99 out of 100 times, if, in a case like that, I guess it would make the most sense, except that's not what happened. No. But I think the jury could grasp a hold of, between that and the TV, they had two things that were coincidences that you really don't have explanations for. Yeah. And then she's showing up at the scene of the crime. She doesn't. I had somebody ask me that, like, a couple of years ago. It's like, did that really happen? Like, I said, trust me. Like, nobody did. Like, she showed up. They're like, man, that's like 1 in a million. Yeah. And I go, yep. So you mean to tell me 1 in a million you're right, the other 1 in a million you're innocent? Even if you say it's 1 in 10,000, now you're starting off the debate saying, listen, 1 in 10,000 times I'm right. All right, you want to bet I'm right on this one? You can't win it. You can't. Once somebody in their head says, if that's really her explanation, what are the fucking chances? That's near impossible for me to conceptualize. I guarantee you, if they polled jurors, that's going to be the thing that's stuck in their head. That they knew right then and there it was either a coincidence or it was a lie. And the coincidence has to be 1 in 10,000. And maybe they're sitting there saying it's one. I'm saying 1 in 10,000. Maybe these dudes are saying it's 1 in a million. She had to be a part of it. Showing up at the, they always say, like, it's an expression. It's like you showed up at the scene of the crime. Right. Like they always use it in like detective movies and like. Right. It's a lie. Like you're at the scene you showed up at the scene of the crime, but she didn't know anything. Like
people start a fire and then they show up to watch it. I mean, it's just been on TV forever.
Like who lived, 15 miles away, like pulling up at the scene 30 minutes later. Or even like being there while this actually happened.
Right.
Like sitting in the restaurant while this happened. And like, it's one of those things where you go like, okay, like this guy's this is happening. Manhattan's a big city. Okay, why the hell was this guy here? You could say, well, he was eating dinner the same night at the same restaurant. Okay, maybe. But like, he was going someplace, he was going to a liquor store, past 4 liquor stores, took alternate routes and ended up right there at that time. Like, that's a good story. Like, that sets the tone for everything else. Like, that puts a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah. Does.
Yeah. You should have just seen the crime. From your house to his house. Like, what did it say? Was it a 17-minute drive?
I think so. I think that's what they said. Yeah.
Okay. And then they put up slides to show what their stores were like 5 minutes from her house. She's driving 17 minutes. I mean, I get it. I still would go to CVS right by Nova.
Yeah, there's closer ones.
That's because you break it down and say, what are the chances of her turning down Prescott at 12:30, leaving your house, talk to her mom, talk to her bro, couldn't help herself. The only logical explanation. I mean, the shit with like, even if she wanted to go to that liquor store, there was a more direct route. The only way that she went, that was what she always knew, and she's bad with direction. But it's like, you're this brilliant person, but so bad with direction. It's kind of like hard to understand to some people. You got this brilliant mind, but you can't find your way out of a paper bag. It doesn't flow. You know what I'm saying? People that are that small have a sense of direction. You've all been in town for 8 years and you got electronic devices. So you're taking even the long route to go to that liquor store. Having 4 liquor stores that are closer. That's just what the fuck are you doing driving down Prescott at 12:30 by the 80s? I think that somebody's showing up at the scene of the crime and they don't have a fucking real good reason why they're there if they backed out. I say that's super fishy.
Yeah, I understand.
Like, you showed up at the scene of the crime. Like, how else do you if that was the only thing, that would be one thing. But it's like, that's why the showing up at the scene of the crime and the fucking TV became like 2 things pounding in people's heads. That would really stick with me. Is that she showed up there randomly. That hates every other thing. And I think after that, every other thing has to be like a bulletproof answer. Not an excuse or not an explanation. Because listen, there's people who showed up at the scene of the crime and have been convicted before, just for showing up.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, yeah.
Identified at the scene of the crime, showing up to watch the fire burn after it was
pretty much what it was.
It's not a 1 in 90. It's not a 1 in 100. It's not even a 1 in 500 for showing up at that day. It's in the thousands.
Yeah.
And that I can't debate.
No. I know. Nope.
Unless she goes, I go there every week to go to that liquor store, and that's how I go. Like, when was the last time you went to that liquor store, Wendy? Probably when she was married.
Yeah. A long time ago.
Okay, so it's only been 3-4 years since you went that way. So one time in 3-4 years on that time, on that date, 2,000. So if they don't put it this way, it's dumbing down the case entirely. If they don't buy her explanation 100% on that, it really casts doubt on a lot of other things.
Well, that's what happens. They don't buy one thing, then they don't believe anything.
It's a big thing. You got to understand. Now they have her at the scene of the crime. If she took because she had prior knowledge, you almost have to assume that I was guilty. From Miami Beach, she put down Tallahassee. She's better than everybody. She wrote it in her book. She was showing up at the crime scene. Like, those are 2 facts that you can't dispute. She wanted to leave, and she got to leave. She thought it was a little stop on the way to nowhere, on the way to civilization. Isn't that what happened? You didn't show up on the 18th. And your mom and your brother both spoke to you that way. Like, that's what the case was about. Folks, use your common sense. She couldn't help herself. She showed up there. Even his best friend said that he said this. Like, she's getting eyewitness, or she's getting, people to come in and say I said things. Like, all fitting together. Get it all put together, folks. and she showed up at the crime scene.
Yeah.
She couldn't, and listen, if you told that to 100 people, with the explanation that I delayed you 10 times since you've been on the phone, they would say, what is the fucking chance? 100% happened. Yeah, but what are the chances that it was random? Then that's when you go, if it wasn't random, then she's involved and they're involved. They made a point to show that your sister thought she was better and shit in on a small town, and she showed up at the scene of the crime. I guess that right there is enough to convict you for showing up. For showing up is borderline unexplainable. Her explanations, whether you're talking about the route or the location, doesn't hold water with wanting to go to a liquor store. But it only does if you realize the chick doesn't drink. The last time she went to a liquor store, she had to go to the party that night, and she was picking up a bottle on the way to lunch. She went the way she always does, talking on the phone. Like, that's what happened. But you just go, what's the probability of, like, her going to that liquor store at that time, that route, on the day he shot, and her turning down Trescott? Pick another street by an American turned down on that date at the time. She had to be going to make sure that Catherine said she couldn't help herself. What do you think? Who do you think explanation sounds more logical? The excuse I just gave, or the ex-wife who couldn't help herself? And then you just go, oh, the only piece of the puzzle that doesn't fit is Wendy's showing up there that day. You know, it's all the auxiliary stuff that they brought in, and I knew that I thought in my heart of hearts, like, you know, I knew the truth, but I'm like, I mean, when I talked to someone about grief, I said, yeah, 1 in a million. I know, crazy, 1 in a million. It should have clicked that, like, Sonny, you're saying it's 1 in a million or 1 in 10,000. Everybody else is thinking the same fucking thing. Now go try to convince people that this is that one that doesn't look like what it is. And you're sitting in Tallahassee telling them that Wendy was going down Trescott because she was going to a liquor store. Like, that alone, like, if she had no invitation, if she had no invitation, that alone would have been like, that's too crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Driving down Prescott from the high power of the board. That's enough to get you convicted right there. Showing up at the scene of the crime. Criminal one.
Like they do on TV.
Criminal. I mean, it had to be me. Had to be. That would kind of be like me driving 10 miles out of my way, stopping off at the Publix in that shopping center, and my phone pinging off that same tower, and then me going home, and then they say, I was never in that area, and they're like, oh shit, I was in that same parking lot on that same time, on that same date. Like, that would be pretty suspicious. You know, I'd be like, well, how many Publixes did you pass or routes? Like, what the hell were you doing there at the same time this is going on? Like, something was happening.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, I wasn't Publix at the same time. And that would have been like unreal. Like, but that's where coincidences happen. I could have watched the full one. But that's TV. You don't think they're going to do that in a courtroom.
No, you don't.
You know? And listen, I get it. I've done it with you for an hour or two. Like, Folks, what are the chances? I said that at the beginning. I said, what are the fucking chances that this happens like this? And the answer is, that's crazy. Yeah, because if that's what happened, that's crazy is an appropriate answer. But it's like, you say that's crazy once, you say that's crazy twice, pretty soon you're doing it saying that's crazy. Or could she just not help herself? I mean, nine times, let's say 99 out of 100 showing up for a reason. Yeah. Taking a shortcut, a long cut from 10 miles away to pass by and see what's going on.